Are you ready to untangle from your past, recover from heartbreak, and revive your life? This is Soul CPR with your host, Ann Papayoti. We've all had soul-crushing experiences and lost ourselves in our pain, but there is a way out. On this podcast, Amazon best-selling author, award-winning life coach, and advice columnist Ann Papayoti helps us navigate the path from heartbreak to healing. So now, please welcome the host of Soul CPR, Ann Papayoti.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. If you're a loyal listener, welcome back. And if you're new to the show, we're delighted you found us and hope you will join us often. Last week, we ran a rerun of episode number 10 as I was away hosting the Soul CPR Self-Love Retreat in San Salvador. And I'd like to begin today's show by sharing some highlights from the retreat that may benefit everyone. Now, since my return, I've been approached by many people in person and online who have expressed regret in not being able to attend, saying they're in a bit of a desperate need right now of grounding and recentering their life. That the world feels upside down and chaotic and dark for those who had expected somewhat brighter days with the new year and new promises and new leaders, perhaps. Some even say they feel betrayed. Many question their values and fear the future. So in a later segment, we'll talk about how in today's world, it's very easy to feel weighed down by the division, the negativity, and the fear. And we'll talk about not allowing the ugly in others to kill or destroy the beauty in you. But first, the retreat that was a reset for the intimate group who attended. I want to say I'm just always amazed at how when I vision something with pure intention and when I'm guided by my highest consciousness, when I trust my intuition and trust that all will work out as it should be, that things actually do come to pass as if it's somehow divinely scripted. Have you ever experienced this or looked back and realized that this is actually how something came to pass for you? Almost everything I visioned for this retreat happened exactly in that kind of timing and with the weather and with the people exactly as I had visioned and dreamt it would, but not quite. And I'll get there. But first, there's so much gratitude in my heart, starting with our transportation and Ernesto, our private driver. He was with us throughout the retreat and served as translator, tour guide, and the one we could count on if anything went awry, but it didn't. And at the stunning home named Casa Alta, we enjoyed sunrise meditations where we could be seated and held by the earth while listening to the sounds of dawn with the backdrop of the Pacific Ocean. We enjoyed sunset dinners on the terrace where we could share our thoughts from the daily journal prompts and enjoy one of our 3 holistic meals prepared in the kitchen by our phenomenal chef, Christina Reyes. The coffee plantation tour at Cajamarca on the volcano with guides Carmen and Veronica was informative and fun and bonding. And I think I speak for all the ladies that we now have such a newfound appreciation for what goes into just one cup of coffee. And believe me, the process to grow the beans, select the best for export, everything in that process is a combination of both love and skill. We shared this experience at Cajamarca with a Salvadoran family whose son was home from school in Toronto, Canada, and had brought his girlfriend to El Salvador for the first time. They were also lovely, and we enjoyed connecting. Now, our City Highlights tour with the walking history book, literally, Julio, was fabulous and memorable, and I think created some new lovers amongst us for this part of Central America. I was already in love with it. Our Valentine's Day, I Love Me pajama party allowed a playful side to come out. And also the casualness opened up deeper conversations. And our local yoga instructor the truly phenomenal Sylvia, helped us contort in ways that some of us did not know we were possibly capable of. And we had workshops on self-love that revealed some things I'll soon share. And one of my participants, Donna, who happens to be a licensed professional counselor, led a tapping session to anchor the new affirmations and beliefs that the women had chosen to adopt for themselves. So I really appreciated her participation. And our wonderful home caretakers, Edwin and Maritza, were available to assist us anytime we needed. And Edwin even accompanied us to the surf town of El Tunco for an afternoon of exploring and shopping. Something that I almost forgot to share with you is that it was whale season while we were there. And we knew that it would be we would be lucky if we saw them. And Edwin used to laugh at us because we'd grab the binoculars when we thought we might have a glimpse of a whale, and he would laugh and he would tell us it was a boat, a fishing boat or something. But at last, we had two Donnas. One of the Donnas just kept believing we were going to see whales. And sure enough, we had the pleasure of seeing whales and dolphins from our perch above the Pacific Ocean. And what a treat that was. One of the most powerful things that occurred during this retreat was the release ritual, where I had the women take a heavy stone and write on it in a paint pen what they were ready to stop carrying in their lives, what they were ready to let go of. And then I had them carry it down the 200, and I believe Maria counted them, 274, 275 stone steps to the edge of the ocean and toss it in. Yeah, it was very powerful. Now, the night before we all headed home, we got dressed up and we made photos by the beach and had a farewell dinner at a famous local restaurant known for its sunset views. Of course, we'd had the same view all weekend from the home we rented, but it was nice to go out on the town, if you will, for this one occasion. It truly was spectacular, and as were the photos of all the women. One other thing that occurred was, at these homes, there's often stray animals that find a place. They make it their own home, and they learn to live off the land and whatever the people who come and go may give them. And the first morning, there was a beautiful, I thought, a kitten that was at my door and became my sidekick throughout the retreat. But it was a full-grown cat. And I came to find out from Edwin and Maritza shared with me that she was actually pregnant. I didn't realize. She looked to be 4 to 6 months old, but they said it was her third litter. And one evening, she curled up beside me and actually went into labor. So sadly, it was not a good outcome. However, the fact was, they said she usually would go off and hide to give birth, but she stayed by me and became my lap cat for the rest of the retreat. We did have a vet come see her and help her, but it was also our wonderful chef Christina that was able to help her because there was a difficulty that was encountered that evening that required human hands and help. But this cat is going to have surgery, so she will not have to go through giving birth to more litters. She's simply too small. But I adore her, and she will be taken care of, and I'm very happy to report that. Now, while all of this occurred in my vision, other than falling in love with this kitten that I almost brought home, cat. While all of this occurred exactly in my vision, even the journals I had provided and selected, without really thinking through this, had the stones on the cover that actually matched the ones we found to paint on for the release ceremony. And my friend Charlene had created Soul CPR, the retreat logo bags for the participants to carry their journals and pens and sunscreen. And everything with the colors and the needs for what they had to carry just flowed through so well together, even though it was planned separately. Again, there was some kind of divine connection that was happening. However, as I mentioned, there were a couple things that just were not part of my intention that occurred that in the end, I know were meant to be. One, I had always visioned a sixth participant. I'd always seen the number 6 in my head. The house slept 8, but I knew that meant 2 would have to be in the living room on a sofa bed, so I didn't want to sell for 8. I wanted 6, and I kept visioning 6, but I sold only 5. And I admit I was somewhat disappointed because I felt someone was missing a great opportunity, and I knew so many had said to me they were interested but had some obstacle to going. And the other thing I did not vision was alcohol. I had planned champagne for the Valentine pajama party as a celebration, and then for our farewell dinner at the restaurant, I planned for anyone to order whatever they chose for their beverages, and that would be fine. But the sixth participant is a very special story, and I'll come back to the alcohol. Now, earlier I mentioned our private chef, Christina Reyes. Her business is named Yamaya, and that's spelled Yemaya. And I found her last year when I was in the planning stages. I found her working retreats online. Her food was art, and I knew she was the person for my retreat where I visioned mind, body, and spirit renewal. And when I sent her my information, she said yes. We worked out our agreement, and what a blessing. And by the way, you can all find her on Instagram at Christina_Yamaya. And Christina is spelled the Spanish way with no H. Now, what I want to share is that one morning she told me that she misread my proposal and thought my retreat had something to do with cancer. It's why she said yes. You see, she typically works surfing retreats or larger scale yoga retreats, but she was drawn to my retreat. The name Soul CPR drew her in. She said, but when she went back and read it, she realized cancer was not mentioned, but she had already said yes and kept her word. And she was curious to see what this retreat might be about. And so she came. And in speaking with her, I learned that cancer was important to her because her mother passed away when she was a young teenager. And now she, Christina, has a daughter who will soon be a teenager. And the more I got to know Christina, the more I came to understand that she wasn't just there to be our amazing chef. She belonged there. She was number 6. And I will not share more of her personal story as that is hers to tell. But I do hope to have her as a guest on the show in the future. Now, the other thing that I did not vision, as I mentioned, was alcohol being available. But I soon came to realize it was important to a couple of the women. Christina had been making us additive-free, all-natural, delicious fruit-based beverages with every dinner. However, once I introduced the champagne at the Valentine party on the second night, it opened the door for wanting more. My mistake, however, it needed to happen to create awareness, not just for me to communicate better, but also for those who may have been in what I'll call states of contradictory behavioral patterns without realizing that, right? So let's talk about that. Contradictory behavioral patterns without realizing that. We explored the power of self-awareness and self-discipline in transforming our relationships, starting with the one we have with ourselves. That was a big point and purpose in the self-love retreat. So what happened with the alcohol is that I observed participants talking about not having desserts or saving calories so that they could have wine in the evenings. And one particular participant said she is always trying to lose 5 pounds and yet she does everything right. Now, as a coach, it is my job to call out blind spots. In other words, what you may not see. So this was the opportunity to do just that for this participant. For example, by saying you're doing everything right, how might you be deceiving yourself? So the first step was to bring into awareness what you consider everything right to be. And so when we went through this participant's day, which included eating well, exercising, and skipping some foods to be able to have alcohol in the evenings, most every evening. But she wasn't losing the 5 pounds that her daughter-in-law said she has heard her say ever since she has known her. What might the disconnect be? We're going to talk more about that specific scenario and more in just a little bit. But it is time for our first break, so don't go far, and we'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Mike Zorek, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ann Papayotti. This is Soul CPR right here on Bold Brave TV. And we were just talking about self-awareness and self-discipline, right? And that becomes self-love in action. So with the scenario of one of the participants at the retreat, it became a question of, could this really be doing everything right to meet her goal? So with awareness as the first step, we had to look at the actions. Were they self-love or was it really self-deceit? So we were able to talk about the counting of the calories is more than just a number. It's the quality representation first and foremost, because not all calories are created equal. So for example, if you're on a 2,500 calorie a day diet and you counted your wine in that, and you're not losing weight, you may need to redistribute the calorie content. So ladies specifically who are listening, most of us do not eat enough of the right calories. And ladies over 50 specifically, it's usually not enough protein. Anyway, I'm happy to report that this particular retreater took the awareness and has put into practice a new discipline to support her goal of losing the 5 pounds, and has made alcohol now a celebratory beverage rather than a daily habit. Now, I know you join me in wishing her the best in her new commitment to that decision. Consistent action over time is how we attain our goals. Now, I have no doubt that she's going to get this one. This is self-love in action. So how else might self-awareness and self-discipline lead to self-love in action? Well, for those whose relationship has recently ended, it may mean something you stop doing as well. It may mean stop stalking their social media. It may mean stop asking mutual friends about them. It may mean something you start doing, like start a new hobby, initiate meeting friends for coffee without the need to discuss your ex. It might mean signing up for something like a retreat, allowing yourself to go to new places and meet new people. And in so doing, getting to know yourself again. Who are you without the role in the relationship? You hear me, right? One of the most common things I hear from people is that they lose themselves in relationships. And at the retreat, while some were fresh coming off a loss, others were further along. But what was common was still the loss of self-esteem, self-worth, and self-confidence about decision-making and about what's next in life. It sounded differently in the personal stories. However, what was real for all were the seeds that had rooted deeply, related to the need for external validation, and some of that pertained to external image, body image. Now, while letting go is always the lesson for healing, and that is what I was there to help the participants do, whether it was of people who hold them back or things that clutter their lives or places that keep them stuck or thoughts that perpetuate negativity, I learned that one of the deepest rooted messages of all that was behind so many other self-love habits had to do with their body images. Still, at 50 and 60 years of age, I really started thinking that my next book is going to have to be on this. So listeners, men and women, who seeded a negative or positive thought in you about your body shape and image? Did it take root? How did it relate to food? How has it affected or impacted you and your confidence, your choices in relationships? Now, most likely, this topic will need to be its own show. But while I was focused on self-love on the inside at the retreat, I realized this was one of my lessons, that these women are still struggling to love themselves on the outside. The need for external validation can lead to toxic and codependent relationships, to risky, optional, figure-altering cosmetic surgeries, and more. However, I will continue to focus on the inside, because if you can truly get there to loving yourself on the inside, the focus on the outside becomes less of a thing. Because what we focus on grows. It magnifies, right? So let's focus on the inside and let that grow and magnify and overtake that need for the external. When you can view your body as a vessel and care for it and make it its best, not for acceptance, but for wellness, for longevity, for performance, to carry you through life with gratitude, to care for it for its capabilities, to appreciate it. That's a whole different perspective, right? We worked on this mantra at the retreat, and I encourage you to do the same. Love your body as the vessel that carries you through life. Appreciate it, care for it, treat it well, exercise it, feed it, make decisions that honor it. Now let's talk about the inner beauty that is threatened these days. I wrote an article for the online media not self-aware, and we don't have a way to release it. We might miss. You ever in the proverbial mirror only to not recognize the person looking back at you? Do you try to sleep at night only to watch the video of your day replay repeatedly on the movie screen of your mind? And in so doing, do you find that that main character, you, is someone you don't really like or enjoy? And as those scenes play out and the dialogue echoes in your brain, do you realize you've begun to look and sound more like someone in your life who's a downer or sarcastic or bullyish or some other behavior you really do not approve of, but have become desensitized to? I know I just asked a lot about looking in that proverbial mirror, because that can be extremely hurtful sometimes, especially when you realize that what's being reflected back at you isn't pretty. You may have begun to notice that what makes you beautifully you, which is how you show up for yourself and to others, is fading. And if so, why? If you're feeling like you're changing from a warm, energizing ray of sunshine to a cold, kind of dampening dark cloud, why? Where's the exposure? Who's the influence? When you recognize awareness that you're not showing up as the beautiful person you truly are, you may start experiencing those negative thoughts, which can turn into self-loathing rather than self-loving. And then you might start ruminating the would haves, could haves, and should haves during those replays of the day. And as you become aware that the script could have been different on how you showed up for people and for yourself and to others is how I prefer to say it. And then as you scrutinize that reflection, the negative thoughts can really start taking over. It's time for our second break in just a moment. So I want you to take a moment before we go and start reflecting on how do you show up for yourself and to others. For yourself meaning true to you. Has that changed recently? And why do you think that is? Some people say it's like Groundhog Day from 4 years ago for them. What is it for you? If so, what's the connection for you and why? Is it something new situationally? Is it a repeat occurrence? Is it something chronic? Think about that. We're going to take our second break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about this and how to get out of it. Don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And we're back. And we are talking about really a mindset that can be affected about how you show up in the world. So if you're not showing up true to you in a way that allows you to self-love rather than self-loathe, let's talk about the influences in your life. So if you are looking in the proverbial mirror and you don't like what's reflecting back to you, why or why not? Scrutinizing your reflection and negative thoughts take over. Some people may retreat to a mindset of sadness and guilt or shame and blame because of how they may be behaving. And these feelings can lead to like an array of self-sabotaging behaviors. So like what? How do you self-sabotage? Do you end up drinking the entire bottle of wine when you intended to have one glass to relax from what you may have deemed as a stressful day? Or do you eat the full box of Girl Scout cookies? That's one of my go-tos. Or perhaps you eventually consider, who is affecting me? And that's when you realize you're negatively affected by someone in your life, or someone's presence, or someone's choices and actions and their behaviors. Now, surely it's someone you care about or hold in high regard, or at the very least, someone who consumes much of your time and attention. And if it's negatively impacting you in this way and affecting how you show up in the world, then that someone is like a dark cloud. Would you agree? Someone who is negative in some way, someone who brings you down, someone whose values just might not be in alignment with yours, even though perhaps at first you thought they were. And now that person is rubbing off on you. So is it just that they're negative by nature, or are they typically critical, cynical, vengeful, and maybe even calculating? Are they bitter, needy, clingy? Did they need you in some way and you need to be needed? I mentioned codependent relationships earlier. Meanwhile, are you positive by nature? Are you typically kind and caring and lighthearted? Are you happy and compassionate, empathetic? Is this where your authentic nature? What other words might you use to describe yourself? Regardless, you have to ask yourself, has the force of their negativity been stronger than the pull of your positivity if your intent was to help them? Regardless, let's say it's a time for a self-love makeover. so you can return to the reflection of your true self, one that you enjoy seeing, one that allows you to rest well and not ruminate and go back to the would have, should have, could have's at the end of the day. There's a theory, and by motivational guru Jim Rohn. I hope I'm saying his name right. It might be wrong, but he has a theory about the 5 people that you spend the most time with, that you actually are the sum of those 5 people. Think about that, that your attitudes, your beliefs, your behaviors, your overall life trajectory and life satisfaction is a sum of those 5 people. Who are your 5 people that you spend the most time with in real time, online, in video, exposure to their thoughts and beliefs? Think about that. All right, my 3 steps that I put in the article, let's see if they're still true 4 years later. Number 1, identify the toxic people and their influences on you. I would argue today still that every one of us has someone in our lives whom we love and admire, but has a way about them that can bring us down every time we're around them. You know, the phone rings and you're like, oh, do I want to take that call right now? Because I know how I'm going to feel when I get off the call. That kind of thing. Or someone that they are always in conflict with someone else or someone, or victimized by someone or someone, something or someone. Always a victim to life. That can drain us. Energy is contagious. And when someone sees everything in life as a fight or a slight against them, it leads them to a very dark place and can pull us down. I would encourage a conversation with them about that. And that's going to require what? Having boundaries about what you allow in conversations. It requires open and honest communication, which is what healthy relationships have. So if you're going to stay in a relationship with this type of person, it's going to require boundaries. So if you've identified that their ugly is destroying your beauty, you have to identify what it is about their personality or character, and then take the first step in your makeover. So when you're aware, you can prepare by creating these healthy boundaries between you and this person, which is step 2 in the article. And we'll have a link to this article in the show notes, by the way, if you want to go back, reread, take something else from it. So implementing boundaries, I find in my coaching practice, is one of the most difficult things for people who are highly empathetic, who are people pleasers and all of these types of things, who are kind, to do, because there's a conflict of values. I call it a misunderstanding of values. That implementing boundaries somehow feels conflictuous to them. It feels like they're being unkind, but you know what? Kindness extends to yourself as well. And open and honest communication is kind and compassionate. Conflict does not need to be rude or ugly, right? Actually, Christina and I had to talk about this in the kitchen at the retreat. Boundaries protect your energy and your emotional well-being. So let's be clear, boundaries are for you. You may have heard it said that good fences make good neighbors. Well, that should be your daily beauty regime, if you will. Your fence is to define your mental and emotional property, and it's your responsibility to maintain it. And the most important boundary is to stay aware when their ugly appears. Choose not to react, respond, or participate in any way that's going to fuel more negativity. Use the power of your beauty instead of letting it be turned into a weakness. Use the power of your beauty instead, according to what the situation calls for. Perhaps you can acknowledge their experience, express empathy, and then redirect them to something positive.
shine a light for them to follow. But if they don't, move on. That was their choice. You are responsible for you and not them. Now, if this is someone on TV or in the news, you have the choice of your exposure. Limits are boundaries. Decide how much time that you're going to allow yourself each day and from what source to get the messages that matter. I have clients creating their own suffering by overexposure to the news. Look, pain in life is inevitable, while suffering is optional, meaning there are things we have no control over that hurts us. But when we prolong our viewing, our listening, and discussing a topic, we're now creating our own suffering. So if you have the news on 24/7, I have no doubt that you're suffering, that you're stressed, and that you're creating negativity in your mindset. If you listen to opinion news rather than a summary daily report, I have no doubt that you're also opinionated. I'll share my boundary when it comes to this. I watch 1/2 hour of local news and 1/2 hour of national, international combination news daily. That's it. I have a local news app on my phone that if there were an emergency in my area, I would receive a warning. My news intake is early evening, not before bed, and not upon waking. This works for me. So what works for you? I've found the middle of the road source. It's not far left and it's not far right. I feel like I get a middle of the road, no opinion. It is what it is. Report. And that's what I'm looking for. And this leads to step number 3. Learning to love yourself or love yourself again means staying beautiful. So one top beauty secret, if you will, is to surround yourself with positive, upbeat people. Back to Jim Rohn's theory of the 5 people you spend your most time with. This includes your television exposure, your news exposure. Who are you surrounding yourself with? This is the best mood lifter and frown filler on the market. Avoiding those who are negative, downbeat, highly conflictual, and perpetual victims of life is a great prescription. But sometimes the relationship is one that requires contact, right? So remember this. Staying beautiful does not mean you step aside and allow someone to bulldoze through your life's fence. It means you stay true to yourself, fence posts firmly cemented. And when we say the relationship means you may require contact, what if it's a boss, a coworker, a relationship you can't quite leave? Because sometimes boundaries, even with family relationships, mean we have to create an estrangement. Sometimes it's more other relationships, even outside of family. So again, fence posts firmly cemented. Keep to your side of the fence. Keep it beautiful, whether they like it and appreciate it or not. You don't need to defend it. It's always better to show than to tell. Write that down. It's always better to show than to tell. And you don't need to join them on their ugly side. But that's going to be the struggle. That's why the boundaries have to be cemented. Don't fall into their commiserating, complaining, controlling, or even judging them for doing so. Your true beauty will strengthen and shine when you can stay on your side of the fence. It's the beautiful people like you, the empathetic, compassionate, sensitive, attentive, who are most in tune with others' emotions and therefore are most vulnerable to being pulled over to their side of the fence. So whether you have the need to please or to rescue, or simply don't want someone to feel alone in their misery, your beauty can be used against you if you are not strong in your self-love and recognize that boundary is to protect you. So learning to love yourself again does take some work. So without that awareness and then preparedness, you can easily become overpowered and weakened. But at the end of the day, it's about being responsible and accountable for the energy you bring to every situation. Self-awareness leads to self-mastery, and that's where self-love resides. After all, it's you who must be able to face the mirror with confidence, and I have found that a clear conscience is the softest pillow, and there's no better remedy for beauty inside and out than a good night's sleep. It's time for our third and final break, so don't go far. We'll be back with some closing thoughts and even some photographs from the retreat. We'll be back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Mike Zorich, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorich, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorich has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Have you ever heard it said that comparison is the thief of joy? Whether it's about where you are in your life's journey compared to someone else or how much you think you should weigh, let that go. It's not a competition. I noticed at the retreat that the 5 women were in very different places on a common path, and because of that, were able to help one another with their collective wisdom. It was beautiful to see them nurture one another. And on our last morning, I found myself really immersed in the ecosystem around us, and I drew inspiration for our final meditation from that. And I reminded everyone that just like the diverse flora that was surrounding us, we were each unique and literally rooted in the same soil, if you will, and nourished by the same elements, and standing under the same sun, yet blooming in our own way, in our own time, and at our own pace. We had all weathered storms and endured trials and carried the scars of our journeys, just like the trees and the plants around us, perfect in our imperfections. And just as the sturdy branches were sheltering wildlife, and sometimes we found some pretty amazing things hiding under there, and the fallen leaves were enriching the earth, we too have beauty and purpose to offer the world. So if I had a key takeaway for today, there are a few actually, but one would be to let go to grow, to retreat to renew. You can do this in your own space and change your internal messaging about yourself. And I promise you, there's something within you that you've forgotten about that is so amazing, that has carried you through your life storms. Remember it and honor it and love yourself for it. So now I'd like to share some pictures from the retreat, and Dan has so graciously loaded them up for me today. So there we are on the last night, all we had wraps to let them blow in the wind, and there's Surf City's little sign. I love that, down at El Tunco. And there's a sign of El Tunco. We're hanging out one of the big surf competition beaches. Lovely. Thank you. Oh, there's the cat on the left. So that, I named her Mia because she answered to Mia Moore. And this is one of the nights she's just resting with me after she had given birth 2 nights before. Her kittens were stillborn, sadly, but I give Christina Reyes credit. She literally saved her life because one was breech and needed a lot of help. And then we're in the city, and then we're in the back of a truck going from one area of the plantation to another at Cajamarca. We were having a good time. That was freedom. Letting go of inhibitions, having a good time. Thank you, Dan. What else have we got? Oh, we have more. That is at Cajamarca, the coffee plantation. We're overlooking the city. So the coffee plantations, there's several of them, and we're on the volcano of Saint Salvador, and this is a coffee plant that you see, and the coffee cherries, they're called, as they grow, and then the bean is inside, and then we're out at where they're drying the beans out in the sun. So cool. And they hand go through those to find the ones that are not right. And there's a sunrise meditation on one area of the property. Then we're going down those 270 some odd steps to the edge of the Pacific Ocean, carrying those rocks for the release ritual. All smiles. People felt good after the release. We had 2 Donnas. There's one of the Donnas releasing her rock underhanded. There's our little workshop scenario. Very cool where we're sitting. There's one of our dinners. There's our beautiful chef Christina on the left. She would always come and give us, talk us through the menu and tell us what she prepared for us. And it was always amazing. Sunset on the other side of the property. We'd have dinner there every evening, and our breakfast would be in the morning up under the veranda. Just beautiful. Thank you for that, Dan. Again, I want to thank all of our loyal listeners. And again, if you're new to the show, we are so very glad that you have found us. And as we conclude this episode of Soul CPR Healing Out Loud, remember that healing is not a linear journey. It is a process of profound transformation. If today's episode resonated with you, please share this podcast with those who might need a lifeline of their own. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more hearts. You can connect with me through my website at skyviewcoaching.com, or on social media. You'll find me on Facebook at Skyview Coaching and at Ann Papayotti on Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. Viewers can scan my QR code that's here on the screen and let me know your thoughts, your stories, and the topics you'd like to explore in future episodes. Until next time, may you find strength in your vulnerability and courage in your journey. We're going to go out with a sunset from San Salvador. I thank you for listening. Breathe deeply, love openly, and live soulfully. Stay beautiful, everyone. The sunset on the same stretch. We have a beautiful view from our room. We got the sunrise.
This has been Soul CPR with host Ann Papayotti. Breathe life back into your spirit with each episode, where she and special guests explore the relationships that hurt us and discover that healing can only begin with you. Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.